1886, however, the unified momentum of the Impressionist movement was beginning to ebb away. Renoir doubted publicly whether the Impressionist lack of emphasis on drawing was entirely a good thing, while other artists who had shown regularly at the exhibitions began to seek answers to their own questions about art. The subtly different approach of some of these artists would eventually lead to their art being described as Post-Impressionist, and the creations of 4 particular Post-Impressionists would become amongst the best known and most valuable in the whole of Western art. From a technical point of view, one of the most innovative of these artists was Georges Seurat. It was at the 8th and last exhibition of the Impressionists in 1886 that Georges Seurat exhibited his Sunday Afternoon on the island of the Grand Yacht. An everyday scene, like so much Impressionist art, it is immediately apparent to the viewer that Seurat's approach differs from the masters such as Renoir. His meticulous approach and his obvious love of mathematical form in art can be seen clearly in his study of The Bridge at Courbevoie, also painted in 1886. This small sketch is in preparation for his larger painting, The Island of the Grand Yacht. Seurat developed a technique which was called pointillism or divisionism. In it, the painter places very small dots of paint. There's no signature in the application of paint, no gesture, as it were. It's an impersonal way of painting. Divisionism also took advantage of recent experiments in color. What he did was place a dot of yellow next to a dot of blue. When seen from a distance, the idea was that the yellow and the blue would mix together to create the optical sensation of the color green. While in fact this worked better in theory than in practice, the overall effect was astounding. The painting is made up of a series of impersonal small dots, and yet out of this arises the most tremendous atmospheric effect of rich, luminous color. But it is perhaps a canvas called Bathing at Asnières that best epitomizes Seurat's unique ability. It is better known by its shortened title, The Bathers.
Clearly, this was not something which was spontaneous. Monet had talked about instantaneity. Well, this was something which, by the whole process of working and thinking of Seurat, couldn't actually happen. He was trying to take the external world, the contemporary world again, the ordinary, the contemporary and the ordinary Parisians going out in their lunch hour to sit in the park. But he was then drawing upon that and then in the studio working on developing up a highly complicated structure. In the Bathers, we have still extant studies in which there are no figures at all. He's just done that scene, that park. Then he applied, in another study, some figures and worked around with these. The figures became no more and no less important than every other bit of the work. Now you can see that in the bridge.
The bridge at Courbevoie is one view of the River Seine, which he did in 83-4, and it's constructed of very clear horizontals and verticals, and you can see quite clearly his use of this small brushstroke. And in the Bathers, you'll see that his colour has lightened up and purified considerably, much clearer, brighter colours. The horizontals here are much less dominant. In fact, the concentration is mainly on the figures, and the figures provide the vertical emphases of the picture. And the colour is primarily the blue and the green, broken down, of course, in each case, and there is a certain diagonality about it as well, as there is in the previous one, only here the emphasis is much, much more on people. It's a more human painting than the bridge.
In Seurat's work, the apparent lack of form of earlier Impressionist paintings was replaced by a severe regularity, and this intellectual approach can be seen as a major break from tradition.